I am underestimating what I went through in what I call my other life. Let me say I'm incredibly humbled to stand among those of you who have lost someone you love due to violence, and my heart goes out to you. I would like to think tonight is for receiving hope and good energy among us here and to move forward in our lives with inner strength and love. With that said, I guess I should tell you the reason I was asked by AWP to speak and tell you my story. I was 17 when I met Joe, and being a normal teenager had very low self-esteem, so I was thrilled to have a guy pay so much attention to me. Jealousy, no big deal. Driving his Chevelle down York Road, racing other cars at 100 miles an hour, with me in the passenger seat petrified, no big deal. Jump to 1979 when I married him at 19 and had my son, Joseph. When my son was 1, Joe's 18-year-old brother killed himself, which brought Joe into a life tailspin, I think, forever. During this same time, we had an argument when he was out all night, and he tried to push me out of the car, and I heard my arm snap. He broke it. That was hospital visit number 1. Jump forward through the next 5 years when I left him 2 times and stayed with friends because he stayed out all night doing drugs and everything else you do when you just don't come home at night. I always went back because I always felt no one else would ever love me. Jump to 1982, I had my daughter, Heather. Jump to 84 and 1985. During this time, he would embarrass me at work with jealousy and berate me for talking to other guys. When we had arguments, he would take the spark plugs off my car so I couldn't leave, accusing me of going out to see other guys when I used to jog every night around the block. We were living as parents during this time, and I call them the 2 years from hell. They witnessed so much violence hitting me. Once he even held me above his head and threw me down like a wrestling move. I know I had a concussion, but didn't seek any help. He was a very big guy and very, very strong. No one would interfere because I now know they kind of feared for their own safety, which I didn't understand at the time. Once he opened a door on me, which hit my head, and I had a golf ball growing on my forehead, but he just kept hitting me, and I needed stitches. That was hospital visit number 2. I called AWP hotline and asked for advice on a couple occasions. After one bad incident, I called AWP and pleaded for help. They had room for us, so the next morning, when Joe left for work, I packed me and my kids' clothing, threw it all in my car truck. I did my normal routine and got ready for work. I told my kids' daycare, do not let Joe take them under any circumstances, and went to work. The call I was dreading came in the afternoon from the daycare saying he just went right in and he took them after he discovered I left. I went to AWP alone, but called him and begged for my kids, and surprisingly he did give them to me the next day. I've always worked hard, and I've been able to save money on the side for a year. AWP helped us for 6 weeks while I looked for an apartment and found one with my parents' help. Staying at AWP gave me time and self-worth I needed to move ahead. They even babysat for me one night and let me go an hour or so past curfew because I had Tom Petty, Bob Dylan concert tickets. I appreciated that. Me and the kids moved into the apartment in Hatfield, and he just wouldn't leave me alone. Cops were called on 2 occasions, once when I had my best friends over. I couldn't afford a phone, so they gave me the money to get one. Up to this time, I lost track of how many times he was cited for disturbing the peace and terroristic threats, and then he started sending roses and cards and being nice. For about 6 months, when I had a really bad stomach bug, and he watched the kids, and then a weak moment, I fell for the, if I lived here, I could always help you shit. So I took him back. Forward to 1988, to an apartment in Telford we rented. He kept doing the overnight outings with lots of drugs and countless DUIs. Once he punched the range hood out of the wall, and then he started treating my son badly at this time. Joseph was always misbehaving in school, and his father liked to do punishment with a belt. Whenever I tried to pull him away, he asked if I wanted to be next, and I can still see that evil in his eyes to this day. One time he hit him so bad, it was a Friday, and I had to keep him out of school that Monday and Tuesday because of the bruising. One night in this apartment, he was drunk and threatened me, and any cops that come to the door, he would shoot them. So I took the kids and ran to the police station, which was right across the street in Telford. They took pictures of my bruises and went across the street, arrested him, and charged him. And we actually had to live in the same apartment while I took him to court because I had nowhere else to go. I felt helpless and very embarrassed. He was charged with terroristic threats and had to pay hundreds in fines. And we looked forward to the weekends he was gone and to serve jail on the weekends for a DUI, or 2 or 3, for almost a year. Forward to 1994, I wanted me and my kids to have a place to call home so bad. I should have known it was just going to get worse when he stayed out all night the first 2 nights in our new home in Guilford Square. He got more DUIs and did major drugs. I lost count how many times the phone cord was pulled out of the wall because I was going to call the cops. And he destroyed a lot of furniture back then. I was starting to lose my mind with fear and hopelessness and literally was having a nervous breakdown. I went to a counselor, and do you know what she told me? I didn't need counseling, I needed a divorce. Forward to 2000, I wanted out. I waited for my daughter, Heather, to graduate high school before I left. So they were both 18. Remembering AWP advice, I had my plan in place. Save money little by little, and I hid valuables in my best friend's attic. I left my teenage kids behind and everything else in the house behind. Material things didn't matter. I needed to get away from them, so I lived at my parents' for a year. During this year, my ex tried suicide a couple times, but I did not visit him because I know I had to make a 100% clean break. He had completely lost his mind and made my kids' lives a living hell. He followed me to work. This is almost done. He followed me to work, often harassing me in the parking lot and over the phone. One day he pulled his truck right in front of mine and blocked me on Route 309 because I refused to talk to him. The final straw came when one day he forced my daughter to drive him to my work at 8 in the morning because he was drunk and he needed to see me. My coworker called the cops, and after fighting with them, he was arrested. I then filed a PFA and filed for divorce. So in 2000, I started seeing someone else. I didn't know how he put up with me because of my ex. I didn't trust him. I had terrible trust issues. All men lie, all men cheat, all men hit, all men stay out all night. I wish I had $1 for every time he said, "How many times do I have to tell you I'm not like your ex?" I started having nightmares where my ex was killing me, and I could see the anger in his eyes, and it felt so real. I woke up crying. So I went to a support group a couple times and therapy a few times. And I married Scott in 2003. Forward to 2013, Joe, my ex-husband, died when he lost control of his Harley. This allows me to be able to stand and talk about all this because if he was still here, I could not be standing here saying all this. Now, forward to October 2015, my son Joseph held a successful hip-hop benefit show at the Eagle Hotel in Quakertown to give back to AWP for helping us so many years ago. With my daughter Heather's help, they collected truckloads full of donated household items, clothes, and gift cards for what AWP was in need of at the time. And we convoyed all the items a few days later to AWP in our trucks, Jeeps. I was never so proud of them in my entire life, and I still am. I understand that the photo on the current newsletter that was just sent out, the fall fund drive, the picture on the back is us. This is what we call full circle. On the way to making that life circle, you may fail like I did a lot. But you have to keep trying over and over to better yourself until you make it to your safe and happy place. If you're in an intolerable, abusive relationship, you have to put your pride aside and ask for help. We are all surrounded by violence everywhere we look these days, but do not tolerate it in your own home. Peace.